Hi, my name is Lauren Powers, President of the Dental Division at Microsite. I'm excited to welcome you to our monthly educational webinar series, where it's all about coaching, closing, and best practices to help grow your business. The name of today's session is called Beating Goliath, Marketing Against Tough Competition in the Current Dental Implant Market. I want to introduce you to my friend and our client, Dr. Amarik Singh, periodontist and owner of Periodontal Implant Specialists in Chicago, Illinois. It's been great to work with Dr. Singh and help him grow his business to now averaging 25 arches a month in an extremely competitive market. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the gems that Dr. Singh drops as he takes a deep dive into how he's grown his business. Additionally, we're announcing our masterclass that will be in the fall, where it's going to be with 20 doctors in Chicago with Dr. Singh, with our world-class coaching staff, and we are going to take an even deeper dive in an intensive, all hands-on educational course focused singularly on full arch and growing your business. I hope you guys enjoy. See you soon. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect segue, yes. Dr. Singh, to find out more about how you became to be so successful. So every other day, myself or our sales director, Jake, we get inundated with phone calls and text messages of everybody who wants to be the next clear choice, or they want to beat the next, big name or big giant beside them. And you kind of settled in and found your sweet spot. What I want to know, out of all the things to practice in dentistry, why full arch? Because I've been in some of these surgeries and it ain't easy. So okay. Why full arch?
So I'll start back to when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, both my parents were physicians and they worked. And the people that basically raised me were my grandparents, my grandmother. And my grandmother had dentures. She came from Burma in 1970, the early 70s she came. I was a baby and she came and took care of me. And I just remember her whole life and my grandfather's life, they had dentures. And I just remember how miserable they were with dentures. And they would always complain that the dentures didn't fit. And now later on in life, I realized that it wasn't the dentures were changing shape. It's that their bone was atrophying and the dentures would get loose. And it starts with the lower denture and they then stop wearing that and then the upper denture. Both of my grandparents suffered from, severe edentulosum. And what I mean by that is they were unable to wear their dentures and eat. And as they were unable to nourish themselves and eat, they got depressed, they got malnourished, they got sick, they got weak, they got feeble, they got old. And I literally watched both of them pass away because they lived with us right in front of me. And, I was in college, I was in college at the time when my grandfather passed away. And I think I was later in college when my grandmother passed away, maybe in dental school. But I literally lived it. And I saw how, not being able to have teeth and eat and talk and smile and interact affected them psychologically and physically. I mean, the eating part was one thing, but it was also depression. My grandmother would never want to leave the house because she couldn't work. She would go out and socialize with family and friends. And at the end, she just wanted to stay home and she didn't care if we saw her or my parents saw her, but it was a big deal. And I mean, I think that was depression. People talk about that a lot now in 2021, but in the 90s, I didn't think about it. But she definitely was, frustrated and upset, and she became a shell of who she used to be. A proud woman that raised me and helped mold my life, definitely suffered towards the end of her life because she didn't have teeth. So that's something that stuck with me. And I definitely kept that in the back of my mind when I decided to choose my professional career. I got involved in dentistry, and I knew I wanted to get involved in surgery. And I was looking at oral surgery or periodontics. And just to be honest, I didn't want to do a 4 to 6 year program. I was able to do a 2.5 year residency with periodontics. And implants always, one of my mentors at the time at Northwestern was big into implants. And I got to watch him do surgery, and I enjoyed seeing that aspect of dentistry. And I figured that's something I wanted to get involved in. Play it forward many years, with the traditional referral-based model, it became challenging to just get a bunch of individual implant cases. So I had to set myself apart. And I said, okay, I work with a life coach, and I asked myself, or she asked me, she goes, what's your goal in practice? What do you want to do?
Yep.
I mean, what do you mean what I want to do? I want to practice good dentistry. She goes, no, cut the BS. She said, what's your goal? And I said, okay, I want to do high quality surgery. She said, no, what's your goal? So she basically pulled it out of me. I said, I wanted to work less and make more. Yep. She said, okay, that's fair. All right. So how do you do that? I said, well, I guess I got to start doing big ticket items, big ticket procedures. Okay. How do you set that niche? How do you get those patients? How do you do that? Mm-hmm. Well, I have to educate myself. I have to educate my staff. I have to educate my team. I have to educate the clients and the surrounding community that I'm the guy to come to when it comes to, full mouth implant reconstruction. And, I kind of set my goals. And over a span of about 3 to 5 years, I was able to transition from a traditional referral-based model to going directly to the public and having patients come directly to me. And then I was able to offer them, full mouth implant reconstructive services. I did try the traditional model, but one of the issues that we ran into, and I'm sure some other specialists out there can appreciate this statement, is it's hard to sell a full mouth reconstruction case or a big case that's tens of thousands of dollars when you've got 2 people presenting a treatment plan. And that was the issue. So, I did a bunch of cases, not a bunch, several cases with referring doctors where I'd sell my surgical part, then they'd sell the restorative part. There was so much running back and forth that I thought it was unfair to the patient. Mm-hmm. They'd have to run here, they'd have to run there, they'd want to make a decision. And then I realized that's what the centers were doing. It was a one-stop shop. And I wanted to, make it easier for people. And, I did cases where I would do the surgery, they'd get in the car, they'd drive with gauze in their mouth, go to their dentist's office.
Oh,
then
wow.
The dentist would try and, restore the case, put the temporaries in. Then the patient would come back to my office because the dentist didn't have the tooling, the dentist didn't have the right drivers, they couldn't get the Teflon tape out, they couldn't take out the composite. They stripped screws, and I just realized, okay, if I want to do this, how do I do this and do it right so that I win? More importantly, how does the patient win? What's going to be the easiest way for the patient to have the best long-term, predictable, definitive, reliable, functional result? And I figure then one cook in the kitchen. So I have a small business model where I tell the patients, you're going to get a boutique experience here. I don't do root canals. I don't do dentures. I don't do fillings. I don't do braces. I don't do veneers. I do minimally invasive procedures to save and or replace teeth. The majority of what I do is full mouth implant reconstruction. And I can say that I haven't met many people that have done as many of these cases as I have in the last 10 years.
But wait, let's talk about that now. And you mentioned setting goals, right? And with all of the entrepreneurs that we work with every day, that's what we talk about in our calls. I mean, you're on the phone with Bill every week. Yeah. I connect with our clients usually every 2 weeks or once a month. And sure, we can get into cost per lead and all that fun stuff, but it's all about goal setting, working backwards, and how do we get to that number? And it's been, like I said, really fun to watch you grow. It's fun when people succeed. We've worked with practices where they have to build out another surgical room. Yeah. They have to bring on an associate. Like, we go crazy here at Microsite when those types of things happen. And for us, it all started with just a simple strategy call where we got on the phone. It was probably about a 2-hour conversation.
Called you.
It was with me.
I called you. I remember. I called you.
You called me. And I put the link there in the chat because I know some of you guys are starting to sit back and you're thinking like, okay, well, how can I get to where, all of my marketing and all the things that I have going on are aligned with what your end goal is, right? And if you're not there yet, it all just starts with a simple phone call. Dr. Singh, tell us about your journey from 1 case to 25.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with I believing in yourself, number one. And in order to believe in yourself, I mean, that takes a lot to believe, because I mean, I know doctors. I mean, I did it as a student. And when I first started practice, I mean, the first dental implant I ever did was a single tooth, like number 4. And it took me like 2.5, 3 hours to do. Now it takes me like 3 minutes to anesthetize the patient, place the implant flapless. But it took me 3 hours. I was unsure of myself. So number one, you have to believe in who you are and what you do and why it's important. So ask yourself this question: who am I as a doctor? What do I do? And why is that important, right? And why it's important could be because it brings financial success and stability to my family. I'm helping change people's lives. I'm helping provide for my team. I'm leaving a legacy. Those are all things that make it important. But you can do that with orthodontics. You can do that with endodontics. You can do that with veneers. You can do that with just being a general dentist that does fillings and traditional general dentistry. I'm a believer that I can't be a master at. I'm not a jack of all trades. I like to be a master of one trade. I limit myself to what I'm good at. So people say, well, why are you good at certain things that you do? That's all I do. Like, I can't bowl. I played golf as a kid, but I'm okay, but I'm not the best golfer. I'll never claim to be the best golfer. I played thousands of hours of golf. I played, thousands of lessons, hundreds of lessons of golf probably throughout my life, but I'll never be the best at it because I don't put the time and effort into it. But when it comes to implants and implant restorations and full mouth implant reconstruction, I believe that I'm the best. And whether it's true or not, I'm not going to claim to be the best surgeon, but I have confidence in myself. And what I mean by that is when my mother-in-law needed full mouth implants, come to me. When my father-in-law needed implants, come to me. When my dad needed implants, come to me. When my uncle needed implants, and his son is a general dentist who does implants, he said, come to me. When my referring doctors who do implants, their wives, sisters, daughters needed implants, they were sent to me. So that was the first thing that said, okay, I must be good if people are sending me their family members. They do it themselves, but they don't want to do it because they don't believe in it. So I do it on my family members because I'm good. Now my kids needed fillings. I mean, my daughter has a couple buccal pit lesions she's got to get done, and she's 13 years old. I could do it. I've done hundreds of fillings. I practiced as a general dentist for a little bit, but I'm not the best at it, so I don't want to touch it. I just don't believe in it. I want to do what I'm really good at, and I believe I'm really good at implants and full mouth implant reconstruction. So that's number one, believe in who you are. Number two, believe in why you're doing it. And number three, make sure you understand why it's important. And once that happens, then you can spread that onto your team, because your team is a direct reflection of who you are as a practitioner. So I've struggled with that throughout my career. I was in a big group practice, and in a group practice, they've got more of a military approach where they've got one set of generalized rules where they have to say generic statements. They can't say one doctor is better than another. They can't say one doctor, they can't set a room up for one doctor. It's kind of have to be generically set up for everyone, a universal system. My practice, I'm the only provider. I've had associates. It didn't work for me. I got my whole team scripted, following scripting that I use. So my team can literally recite everything I say on a daily basis. Placing implants in the anterior maxilla, anterior mandible, avoiding vital anatomical structures, the triangle approach of the all-on-4, bridges and pyramids and roofs of houses use triangle support like in engineering. They all know that. They know the bone in the anterior maxilla, anterior mandible is denser than the bone in the posterior maxilla, posterior mandible. So a lot of that has to do with selling the case. It's, in marketing, I'm not sure if it's true, but I've heard many times it comes in threes. You've got to hear it 3 times. So when the initial phone call comes in, my staff is trained, and they still train. We're still working with them on scripting. They're trained on how to answer the phone calls and what to say, and we try and turn it around. Okay, you got a complimentary consult. You're going to come in with the top implant surgeon in the Chicagoland area. He's going to give you his opinion. You got nothing. The worst you can do is leave here educated. So you might as well come in.
Let me jump in real quick right there, Dr. Singh, because you're dropping so many gems. I want to make sure that we hear it. Okay. So I've watched you literally educate your team on what you do. There has to be some cohesiveness between the leader and the team members. And the most successful practices that I see that I work with are when the doctors take time to go over a case with their team. It could be someone that answers the phone. It may not even be the treatment coordinator, but on their morning huddles, they're reviewing cases. They're talking about some problem patients, actually like educating them on the process. Guys, that's huge. The more knowledge you give to the team, you're empowering them to support you. You can't lead in a box. You have to really, really share your gifts. So I want you guys to maybe kind of think about that and reflect on your own practices, on how you run your own practices, and how do they really know what you do when you're in there doing a smile transformation. Shouldn't be a technical conversation they're having with the patient, but knowledge is definitely power. And I know that you've taken advantage of the coaching that we have with Kim, and the phone calls sound different. The texture of their voice sounds different, and you guys are closing more. It's just that, and I don't want to say simple, but it works just that way. And I applaud you for leading and educating your team for your craft. So
it actually is pretty simple, because people ask me, how do you present the case? And it's pretty simple. People, based on different studies that I've read about and heard about, there's 60 to 70 million people in the United States that are in a terminal state in their dentition, which means that they've got teeth, but the teeth they have are in bad shape, and they need to get them removed and replaced with implants or partials or dentures, right? So in the end, I have this conversation, and to sum the conversation up, I'll tell patients, so let me just review. 1, you're unhappy with your smile. 2, you're frustrated with going to the doctor every 3 to 4 months and having to do more and more treatment. 3, your long-term goal is to do one procedure get immediate results, and give you a definitive, predictable, long-lasting result so that you can bite, smile, talk, and chew comfortably, right? And they all say, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. Okay, let's go over the options, all right? Option one is dentures. I don't want dentures. Okay, well, because if you take out the teeth and put them in dentures, it's a one-time fix. But nobody wants dentures. George Washington had dentures. It's an antiquated approach to tooth replacement for full mouth reconstruction. It is an option, but nobody wants to do it. I get it. Okay, let's go to option two. About 20, 25 years ago, dental implants became really popular.
Yep.
Traditional implants, however, necessitated multiple surgeries, extractions and bone grafting, sinus grafting, nerve repositioning. Okay, I've done that. 8 to 10 implants in arch. I've done that. I've done not a lot, but I've done numerous patients where I've placed over 20 implants on them over sometimes all at once, sometimes over a span of several years, but it ends up being a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of, it's a process. And then the best option is the minimally invasive, cost-effective option, the all-on-4 treatment concept, where we can, in one appointment, give the patient some medicine, relax them a little bit, get their teeth out, put the implants in, and then, work with my team and my lab technician, and there's something anyone can do and restore their mouth and have them walk out with a brand new set of teeth that they can bite, talk, smile, and chew with. And literally, I get every week, we have patients coming back 1 or 2 days after the procedure, smiling, hugging the team. I mean, we kind of lost the hugs last year, but they're coming back now.
The hugs are coming, they're returning.
Hugs are coming back. Yeah. I remember my first hug was about 6 months ago, and the guy said, I don't care that I'm not vaccinated.
Just bring it in. That's how I feel too.
I was vaccinated. I said, okay, I couldn't stop it. He was so happy. And, it's really rewarding and it's really amazing. And then one of the best tips that I can give anyone is, a lot of my intraoral photography, I used to have a regular camera, like a Nikon, with slides, and then it was digital. And now I just use my iPhone, and I've got thousands of before and after smiles on my phone. And every day patients come in for follow-ups or checkups. Yeah. And I just take a picture of the before, I take it off the computer screen, I take a picture of their after, and every day I can show patients, this is who we've seen today that had full mouth implant reconstruction. And every day I can pull up 3 to 4 patients, just before and after smiles, before and after smiles, before and after smiles. Just
guys, I have to jump in, Dr. Singh. Pro tip. He has his camera right there. He's prepared for the testimonial. I know a lot of our docs sometimes, because they're actively in surgery or engaged with the patient, so they don't necessarily get the testimonial. Guys, for every case that you do, for every smile that you transform, take a picture, even if it's on your iPhone or whatever. That's the proof that patients need to know to move forward with you. And I think with you, Dr. Singh. Tell us how, because we knew where you were when you started with us, and we know where you are now. You're averaging about 25 arches a month. How do you attract your ideal client? What are the things that you're doing to attract the ideal client that will buy your services?
Okay, so I think number one, the clients are out there. All right. I mean, and I've talked to hundreds of my colleagues throughout the country. And whether they're general practitioners or they're specialists, they can all say they all have a lot of patients in their practice that would at some point benefit from full mouth reconstruction, whether it's dentures or full mouth implant reconstruction. The average American by the age of 50 is missing 12 or more teeth. That's studied by the American Dental Association, and there's 60 to 70 million people in this country alone that are suffering from terminal dentition due to genetics, disease, periodontal disease, uncontrolled systemic issues such as diabetes, heart disease, certain medications dry out their mouth, trauma, poor hygiene, combination of all of the above. They come to, oral habits, grinding, clenching, and they come to me and their teeth are all worn down, cracked, broken, and they all want to have teeth that they can bite, talk, smile, and chew with. Okay, so we know the patients are out there. So how do we find them? I advertise, and I've done all sorts of advertising. I'm a big believer in investing in myself. I mean, I just got an email today from my wealth management guy or gal, and she was saying, okay, it's time to invest in your retirement plan. It's time to invest in your kids' education. And we get those emails all the time, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars every year going into my retirement and my kids' education. And you don't think twice about it. It's got to be done. Well, what if I was to take that same money and invest in myself? Because then I'm going to make money and have more money for my kids and my family, et cetera. So I'm a big believer in investing in myself because I can control that. I don't know what they're doing with the money. I don't understand the stock market. I don't understand real estate like I do understand dentistry. And I know I can help people. So I believe in investing in myself, I should say. Mm-hmm. And I believe that, if you look at all the successful, we've talked about this, Lauren, if you look at, I say 95, 99% of big Fortune 500 companies, they've got a budget of 10 to 20% of their revenue they put back into marketing.
Yep.
I'm right in that range. I invest in myself. So if I'm doing big cases, I'm throwing that money right back into my marketing budget, and it works.
So what's your magic number for a percent of revenue for you to reinvest?
My practice typically averages about 15%. So if I'm doing, if I do for every $100,000 I generate, I invest back 15,000 into marketing. All right. And that includes internet marketing, that includes television. I've done newspaper, I've done radio, I've done cable, I've done infomercials, I've done it all. And each location is slightly different. What I found in Chicago that works best for me is broadcast television and internet marketing.
What do you mean by broadcast television?
So I go on TV. I have TV commercials. I have 30-second commercials, and in my commercial, I differentiate myself by saying I'm the sole provider. You're going to come meet Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh has done over 30,000 implant-related procedures. Dr. Singh has, is the doctor, the video of me walking through the office smiling, and that sets it apart compared to some of my competitors, because when you go to the big implant centers, they've got associates. They don't have owners. So the doctors are turning over. I'm familiar with many of my competitors in Chicago, and they've gone through, not hundreds, but maybe at least 30 to 50 doctors in the last 10 years that I'm aware of. And there's turnover, and in my practice, my name's on the door. So there's consistency, and I can tell my patients with 100% sincerity, like, look, my name's on the door. Any issues, you talk directly to me. I stand behind what I do. I believe it works, and I will fix it if there's an issue, because you're going to get me each time. And I have had patients that have gone to other implant centers that when a complication occurred and they went back to have something addressed, chip 2, peri-implantitis, the failed implant. The new doctor's there, and the new doctor doesn't want to work for free. And then they get frustrated, and then they end up coming back to me, and then, it works out better. So I have a small business approach, and because my name's on the door, and because it's my practice and it's my name, it's worked out well in that sense, in differentiating myself from my competitors. And I think people pick up on that.
So with the different types of marketing that you've done over the years, because I know you are pretty savvy, like you're not afraid to try. What has been your sweet spot for the past year or so, like that you found just works? You keep tweaking it, but what is your sweet spot for marketing?
I think what I found is, when I was a kid growing up in Chicago, there was a TV commercial for a carpeting company called Empire Carpeting. And I remember that just stuck in my head. You need a carpet, 588-2300 Empire.
Yes, 2300 Empire.
So and then there was another plastic surgeon who was known for reconstructive procedures, facelift, nose jobs, breast augmentations. He was all over the radio. His name was Dr. Chupshin, I believe, in Chicago. So I said I wanted to brand myself as the guy when it came to dental implants. So I used the internet to brand myself. And if you go to my website, I think it does a good job of explaining who I am, what I do, and how I'm different, and why it's important to come see me. Because I believe in what I can offer, and I believe in the services that I provide. More importantly, so that's one way. You got to have a good website, and you got to practice what you preach. So you got to have, your team has to believe in it, and your team has to understand what you are, what you do, and why it's important. More importantly, you have to get people. So I found, for me, I've gone directly out to the general public, and I did newspaper, that was okay. I did radio, that wasn't very good. I did billboards, that wasn't very good. I've had the best results doing broadcast television during the news. And I tell anyone that wants to ask me, and I'm not shying away from it. I've advertised during Jeopardy, where they'll say there's so many people between the ages of 35 to 65 that want to watch the show. And that's typically my sweet spot for patients. I profile my patients. They're typically between the ages of 40 to 65, dual family income of $65,000 a year or higher.
Yep.
A lot of times they're empty nesters. It's time to take care of themselves. And a lot of times, my staff is trained to say, bring your decision maker with you, bring your significant other with you to the appointment. Yeah. That's really important, because you've got questions and they've got questions, and it's better if they come with. So, so we worked that out. But, for my area, broadcast television during the news has given me the best results, and it drags people to my website, and I'm consistently seeing on average 20 to 25 consults a week.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there 1 second. Pro tip, guys. He advertises on the news and online, but he advertises during the time where it's like primetime news. So that could be like in the morning or maybe in the evening news. So
what I do, because privately owned small business, and I don't have a huge answering service that's trained. I have an answering service, but what's your name? What's your phone number? What's the message? We'll call you back. And that's my answering service. That's the majority of answering services that are out there. So I try and make sure my staff is always available for my lead call. So majority of my marketing on television is between the hours of 9 to like 5. So I do like an 11 o'clock news, a 12 o'clock news, or a 4 p.m. news, sometimes the 5 p.m. But I found the 5 p.m. news didn't work well for me because those people were typically at work and they wanted evening hours, they wanted weekend hours. So, I mean, this is just over years. I've been doing it for 5 to 7 years of hard television marketing. And I found my sweet spot is actually the 11 o'clock news and the 4 o'clock news. And I would say a large percentage of my patients from television marketing come from those avenues.
All right. So you also do a lot with like the data and the analytics. So that's why we meet with you so frequently. So you can tell us who lately I've been seeing a lot of like younger folks. Maybe there's something that we need to tweak, or he actually knows his data. So guys, if you have the opportunity to meet with your marketing agency or to really dig into your numbers, that's what those meetings are for. So you can understand your demographics. So we keep working to attract your ideal client, right? To attract your ideal client. Now, I want to know, to get to 25 arches, how many consults per month do you think that your practice?
I mean, again, it's strictly a numbers game. So I do, let's just say 20 consults a week. All right. I mean, maybe 25. Some weeks I do 20, 25 because there's reevals in there as well for my hygiene practice. But on typically new patients, I do about 20 consultations a week. Right. So that's not an average. Some weeks 24, some weeks 16, but on average, I'd say it's about 20. And that's throughout the majority of the year, except for maybe the holiday season, December, where we slow down. I'm on vacation a lot. So, and out of those 20 consults that call and schedule, I'd say, and remember, when they call, my staff is very good at, at profiling them and educating them and screening them, for lack of a better term. They ask questions. I take public aid and they say, public aid doesn't cover this. We have Medicaid. Medicaid doesn't cover this. If you want full mouth implant reconstruction investment, you're going to have to make. And they tell them it's going to be an investment. What they also tell them is Dr. Singh is definitely more cost effective than his competitors. He utilizes his efficiency, his expertise, and his training. So you're going to get the best product at the best price. But there's an investment you're going to have to make. It's not $100. It's not $1,000. It's tens of thousands of dollars for arch. It just is what it is. So most people understand that. They do the research. The internet's an amazing tool for people. They realize they're going to spend $23,000 to $27,000, $30,000 in arch. And people just know now, right? It's like buying a car. You can kind of tell what the price of a car is nowadays. You can just look it up online. So it's the same thing. They know. So they call, they get the education on the phone, they make an appointment. I'd say 75 to 80% of the patients actually show up. Some don't. And, because we're profiling them and we are screening them on the initial phone call, we're stressing to them the importance of the consultation appointment. It's a complimentary consultation, but if you miss it, you got to pay to come the second time because Dr. Singh's time is valuable. And there's a lot of people that want to be in that spot. So, they script it on that level. And they're not mean about it. They say like, look, we're going to give you a complimentary consult, but Dr. Singh is extremely busy. If you can't make the appointment, you don't cancel within 48 hours notice, we're glad to reschedule you, but then there's a fee for it. So that kind of incentivizes them to show up again.
I want to ask, how far out do you book your consults?
My rule is I try and get new. So I'm a type A person and I try and practice what I preach. So I know myself, I've had cosmetic procedures done for myself, and I've had work done, whatever it was, Invisalign, laser hair removal, hair transplants, whatever I've done, I'm not shy about it. I talk about it. I don't care because I believe that I want to look good. I want to feel good. I got one life to live. I want to look and feel my best the entire time. So I know that people want to get in. If they make that call, it's not they've been thinking about it for one day. They've been thinking about it for 3 to 6 months. So I try and get them in within 7 to 10 days. It doesn't always work, but typically we try and get them in. So we have new patients. We've got columns for new patients. And the new patient exam comes in. There's videos, there's paperwork they got to fill out. Then there's my new patient coordinator will go in and spend time with them. And then I'm usually going in and spending my time with them. So they're being consulted on the phone. Then they're being consulted by my assistant, who's kind of reviewing stuff with them, getting their health history. How much do you smoke? What medications are you taking? What's your chief concern? What information have you gotten about the type of treatment that we offer here? Have you gone elsewhere? We literally ask, have you gone to other doctors? Have they talked to you about this procedure? A lot of patients are like, yeah, I went to Clear Choice. I went to some other implant centers in the Chicagoland area. I've been to other doctors and they said, you got to go to a specialist and come back to my office. So we get a feel for what they have been told already. And then we're able to work around that and kind of make them the best offer that they can't refuse.
I'm gonna jump in. Pro tip, guys, they start selling on the phone, right? It's not when people are calling in to request an implant consultation or for some sort of life-changing procedure, it really is. This is not a what's your name, date of birth, and what's your insurance. That's not how the phone calls go, right? And thankfully, Dr. Singh does have his team. Kim has been working with them. They were already good. Now they're leveling up. And then for our practices that don't have that all the way sorted out, they use our sales center as support. But there's never going to be anybody better at selling than the folks in your practice who are with you every single day. But if that initial phone call, especially if you are online advertising for strangers, that's the most important phone call that's going to get them to the doctor so they can have their life changed, right? Yeah. So I'm going to circle back to the consult in just a minute. But I want to know, like we do the TV ads, right? And you're doing great there. How do you feel about your Google and Facebook ads and your website responsiveness? How have those leads turned into dollars for you?
So what I would say is the more educated the patient is, the easier it is for me to sell the case, right? So because I'm a small business and I pay myself directly, and because I've got a small boutique team, I don't have 30 employees in my office like some of these big implant centers. I don't have multiple doctors I got to pay out plus investors. I accept insurance, right? We build the insurance. We get the $1,000 or $2,000 they have for the extraction, for the implant placement in the single units or in individual implants that I place. We're going to maximize your insurance. So I can say your out-of-pocket expense is going to be, my staff the first thing they'll say is, the patients will say, well, do you accept the insurance? Yes, we'll maximize your insurance. And how much is this? Well, we can't give you an exact fee over the phone, but what we can say is majority of our patients will say that Dr. Singh is 10 to 20% more cost effective than the competitors. And it's simple. It's simple. It's a business.
I like that.
I'm a small business. There's no way that they can compete with me because they got to pay associates and I'm paying myself. It just doesn't work for them. So I've got more knowledge. I've got a better product. I've got better technology because they don't have the technology because I got one location. I've got a scanner. I've got a 3D milling unit. I've got all the bells and whistles. And when you got 6 offices, you can't have one in each office. So they can't do it. They just can't do what I do. And as a result, it's hard for them to compete. And that's why I'm the busiest guy in Chicago and numbers don't lie.
They definitely do not lie. Okay. So we know how you handle your online traffic and your TV traffic.
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer the question. But so what I'll say is this is very, very important.
Yeah.
For you guys and for everyone out there. The more educated the patient is, the better quality lead they're going to be. So my internet leads, I typically close at a higher percentage. So I would say on average for every 10 consults I see, I close 3 of them, right? So if I see 10 patients, I'd say 3 of them close. That could be 1 arch, that could be 2 arches, right? About 25 to 30%. Yep. I'd say about 30% of my patients close eventually. Not immediately, but I get patients, I'm doing a double arch tomorrow on a patient that we scheduled that callback that we saw originally last year, and then eventually they came back a year later. So the pipeline is, we're still following up. My treatment coordinator is following up, sending letters, phone calls, touching, always reaching out. And then we get a lot of people from 6 months ago, from 3 months ago, from a year ago. When you're investing that much money, they've got to do the research. They got to talk to significant others. They got to find the money, right? So it takes time sometimes to close these cases, but then it builds up and it snowballs. So, the internet leads are the best. I close those probably at 40 to 50%, I'd say. Okay. And I would say my TV leads, I close at like 20%, 15 to 20%, and then it averages out to about 30%.
So
there are deadbeats. I mean, there's days that they come in and just, you guys have to understand this. Like if you're going to do this, you're going to have days where everybody that walks in, you're going to literally say they don't have a pot to urinate in.
Or a window to throw it at.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to say, my God, this was a waste. That's part of the game. If you box, you're going to get hit. If you play golf, you're going to miss putts. If you play tennis, you're going to double fall. That's just part of what you do. And you have to understand, what I look at is if they leave my office, they're going to leave my office educated and understand that I'm the best man for the job. And then I win. So that's the first thing I look to do. They're going to leave my office with a full understanding of why we do what we do, who we are, and why we're important to work with. And off of that, then they call back and book. And that 30% number starts to add up.
It sure does. It's to the tune of 20 to 25 cases a month.
Yeah.
And the last question I have about your consult,
Mhm.
and then we're going to just wrap up and answer a few questions. Do you ask for the money and get them financed in the practice?
Well, majority of the time we will offer to we offer to help them in the system with financing in the practice. So, a lot of times we will. Some people are embarrassed about it, but we always ask the system to help them lock them in right then and there. Now, the one other pro tip I will give is, the headache patients that I've had are typically people that are impulsive and want to start the day of the consult. And I'm not saying I don't do it, but typically I like to have them come back because then 99.9% of the time, I never have an issue. But, some people are jump on it that day, and then sometimes they have buyer's remorse. And I've had those issues. I've done so many patients and so many procedures. Typically, I like them to think about, what we do. So, in majority of the patients do come back. It just works with our schedule. They got to meet my lab tech. We got to take alginates. We have to take pictures. We have to take measurements. So there's a whole process that we go through to ensure that we can work up the case the right way. Mm-hmm. But that's just something for keep in the back of your head. It's easier if they think about it and they come back a day or two later. But you want to get them in as soon as possible. If they say yes, you want to work with them and get them in. Right
Absolutely.
Away.
Pro tip, guys. They ask for the money.
No, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm a nice guy and I enjoy what I do and I think it's rewarding. But I'm just going to be honest. I enjoy making a good living. It helps me provide for my loved ones and my family and my team. I have a bonus schedule in place for my staff, and we were having a little bit of a slow month, and my treatment coordinator kind of ramped things up. And the last couple of days, I've been hustling. I'm doing 7 arches this week, or 6 or 7 arches. I don't even know. 6 maybe 7. I can't remember. But it's a lot the last week before the end of the month, so they can hit their numbers, and it works out well.
So my last question to you before I get to the questions in the chat, and some people have texted me some questions. How has your life changed in the past year now that you've scaled to this capacity? How are things different for you now?
Okay, I'm going to answer that with going back to my life coach that I worked with 10 years ago. And they said, "What are your goals?" And my goals are work less, make more. And then she also asked me, "What makes you happy?" And she said, 3 happy thoughts off the top of your head. And I said, okay, watching the Steeler game with my son, walking my dogs when it's 75 to 80 degrees outside and it's a nice day, and then driving home from work and seeing my kids in the pool in the afternoon and jumping into the pool with them, or my family, seeing my kids and my family in the pool. I've done all of that this week. Well, I haven't watched the Steeler game. We're going to the Hall of Fame game next week. So I'm doing that next week. I came back, my kids were in the pool. I got to hang out with them in the pool, and I've walked my dogs alone and had my alone time. So it gets back to, I get to do what I want to do, but to do that, I got to work less. So I'm literally working 20, 25 hours a week, just doing what I do good. And I'm working less and making more. So it's been great.
Dr. Singh, this is just an awesome discussion, and we're only scratching the surface. Guys, this is a little teaser alert. In the fall, we are going to host an intensive day to possibly a day and a half masterclass with Dr. Singh live in Chicago. We're only going to accept about 20 doctors into this program. It's going to be intensive. We're going to business plan. Dr. Singh is going to go over his technique on how he converts that many cases in a month, because obviously it's back-breaking work. I mean, it's not like lopping off bone isn't all that easy, but he's got techniques to convert dentures really, really fast. We're going to business plan, set some goals, review the marketing, dig into the details of how to get to this level of collections and that success. And you will walk away with a clear plan on how to do it, and potentially, what your reinvestment in the business is going to be. So one of the pro tips that Dr. Singh said, he invests in himself. I know myself, I've spent probably about $25,000 in the past year on just education for me, so I can serve my clients better. I got to take a TikTok class, because then on the marketing calls, y'all are asking me about TikTok. And so I had to take a class about TikTok. So I'm putting this link in the chat because we want to, for those that are interested in getting more information about our Chicago masterclass, that'll be this fall, just drop your email into the chat. And we're even going to allow a seat for a treatment coordinator to attend, because Kim, our amazing sales coach, who I'm about to bring up to the stage just to say hello, just to introduce herself. Let me see if Kim is out there so she can say hello.
What I would say is that in the last 3 to 5 years, I've probably had 50 to 100 doctors, met them at meetings, personally call me and say they want to come to my office and watch what I do. because to do full mouth implant reconstruction, you have to have education for yourself and your team. You have to have technology, you have to have inventory, you have to have marketing, you have to have sales processes in place. And that starts with the initial phone call, that starts with the new patient exam, that starts with the flip charts and pictures you use, educational materials that you provide. And of course, there's surgical and prosthetic considerations, which I've done over 1,000 cases. So I've pretty much seen the spectrum of every issue that you can deal with, whether it's, mismanagement of patient expectations. I mean, I've had 80-year-old women that wanted the teeth of a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
And I can't do that. And, you have to make sure you plant that seed on the front end. And I've had, issues with grinding and clenching and occlusal issues and phonetic issues and aesthetic issues and surgical considerations, avoidance of vital anatomical structures, dealing with surgical complications, prosthetic complications. We're going to touch on all of that because
it's going to be a jam-packed weekend. If you can't tell, we're passionate about dentistry, about changing lives and helping you guys serve your clients and patients better. Dr. Singh is an example of that. And to learn from him, it's going to be an amazing jam-packed weekend. Kim, I'm going to hit the allow you to talk button. Will you just introduce yourself and tell us what you do for Microsite? Kim, there you go. Ask to unmute. She may not be able to. She's on a phone. She may not know how to unmute. Okay, well, I will just briefly explain who Kim is. Kim is a world-class sales coach. She's sold over $80 million in treatment. She used to work for ClearChoice and then later was a sales trainer for ClearChoice. And now she is with us at Microsite, and she helps. You can work with her one-on-one or in a group environment, or you can work with her through our marketing efforts. Guys, basically, we like action takers, right? So if you're hearing things that resonate with you, take action. Set up a strategy call with us, or if you want more information about the masterclass, allow us to take a look at your business, utilize our expertise so we can help you grow. Yes, Caitlin, down here in Peachtree City, we love Kim. I think that your treatment coordinator just closed two double arches in one day, and she's brand new. Yes, we love Kim. That's Dr. Anderson's office, Dr. Singh, our buddy down here in Peachtree City. So I'm going to wrap up this portion and I had a couple of questions that were in the chat, Dr. Singh, if we can get to them quickly so we can adhere to our time. So we have Katie has asked, what kind of information, what kind of info in a pre-consult do you allow your team to discuss with the patient?
Basic concepts of the procedure, talking about different options. The patients come in, it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you look at my assistants have been working with me long enough, one assistant's been with me for 12 years. The other ones have been with me 3 to 5 years. My staff I've got a pretty cohesive team now. So they kind of know, once they see the x-ray, they're going to talk to the patients about what their chief concern is. What brings you to the office today? Okay, I can't handle my teeth. And then you look at the x-rays and they know it's 90% bone loss, 75% of their teeth are missing or severely decayed. They know they want to have teeth. So my staff will talk about different options available. And Dr. Singh will talk to you about dentures. Dr. Singh will talk to you about options with implants. And Dr. Singh is going to give you the best option to get you the ability to bite, talk, smile, and chew immediately. And you're in the right place. The biggest thing that they do is they sell me and they put the patient's mind at ease. The exam's going to be quick. It's going to be painless. He's going to educate you and you're going to leave here with full knowledge of what your options are. That's basically what they push when they're in the room without me. Now, again, a lot of times the patient comes in, they take the x-ray, I kind of peek at it while I'm working with other patients, doing my notes, whatever I'm doing, and they'll come tell me, this is the x-ray, it's been taken, how should I proceed? And I'll say, review full mouth implant reconstruction, or if it's a perio case, I'll say, show them the perio video. But majority of the time, 90% of my consults are full mouth implant reconstruction. So it's pretty self-explanatory for them.
This is great. Great pro tips. I'm hearing so many good gems. I hope you guys are taking notes. And another question I have, and I'll just have this be the last one. How do you do that many arches in 1 week?
It's not that hard. I mean, I work 4 days a week. So if I do a double arch, some days I do a double arch. Some days I do a single arch. There's days I've done 4 arches in a day. Not often, that's too much for me. But I consolidate my schedule, and I'm pretty efficient at what I do. A lot of people that have watched me, I've done so many procedures, and I used to utilize so much technology that I've got it down. My assistants know what all the materials are. I've got a large inventory of implants and abutments and copings and housings, and my lab technician pre-prepares the prosthetics so that it makes it easy to work with. So I'm quick. I do the surgery, and then while my lab technician is converting the case, I'm off doing consults because there's a 20-30 minutes of conversion time. And then I go back and the patient's waiting on gauze, whatever they're doing. And then I go back in and the teeth are done and I put them in. And so it's just, it's 2 arches a day, 3 days a week. Sometimes, some weeks it's 4 arches, some weeks it's 6 arches, on average 20 to 25 a month.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait to dig into that in October when we come up to Chicago, because you're gonna teach us all your secrets. I'm gonna squeeze in, guys, one more question because it's very direct and it asks about us. So this person is asking, why do you feel like Microsite is so different? Because I know you switched from other companies and switched over to us. Like, why do you feel like we're different out of all the marketing agencies that are out there?
Honestly, it's well, number one, the owner or the president of the company lived in the Chicagoland area, so he understood. Bill knew Chicago well, so he understood where to target for my patients. There's certain parts of Chicago that might get you a lot of leads, but it's not the quality of patient that we want. Again, my demographic is 35, 40 to 65 years old, income of 65,000 to maybe 120,000 or up. And so we're able to target those zones and towns. And working with the guy that grew up and lived in Chicago his whole life, he knows the areas that we got to go after. So that's number one. And more importantly, they're more of a boutique. I feel like I'm working with the people that are actually doing the work. Big other corporate companies. I talked to one guy and he's got to pass on the message to 17 other people to get the job done. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but they give me more of a small business feel, and they work with myself. And more importantly, they work with my team. Because honestly, like, we do a call once a week and I'm usually on the call, and I just let my staff talk about forms, and they talk about how many patients we've gotten and how many cases have been converted. And it's my front desk, it's my marketing director, and actually now my marketing director is on maternity leave, and I've been struggling a bit because I'm actually trying to do some of the stuff that she did in terms of tracking numbers and whatnot. And it's not rocket science, but it is work that needs to be done, spreadsheets and whatnot. But you look at those and you can analyze those, and it makes a difference. So small business. I'm a small business owner. I work with another small business, more of a boutique feel.
Yeah.
And, I'm able to work with someone that understood the Chicago market real well.
Yeah. And yes, because at Microsite, we are a small agency. We are a small agency that serves a lot of people, but we are very high touch. And, one thing I can appreciate about the business owners that have that business mind, they don't miss the marketing meetings. Pro tip: if you're engaged in business with an agency, a marketing agency, hold them to what their promise is and what they're offering. And our promise at Microsite is to work with you to grow your business and deliver quality patients. Don't miss the marketing meetings. All right. If you're with an agency, and Dr. Singh makes that a part of his weekly routine to talk about his business with someone that's supporting his business.
Yeah, all right. I have once a week phone calls with my team, and every now and then I call Lauren, every now and then I call Bill, and an idea pops into my head and I just send them a text or I send them a call, and that's it. And then we just go from there.
And 2 minutes left, because this is probably a good question, guys. I promise we will wrap this up at 1:00 on the dot. I've got a question that says, basically, what's your price range for a full arch, and what do you do when people try to negotiate with you?
My treatment coordinator will not put up with negotiation. She says, "This is our fee, take it or leave it." Like, that's it. There's no negotiation, because I've been practicing for over 20 years. I've had a dental license since 1997, so almost 24, 25 years I've been doing dentistry. 99% of my issues with patients, they started by negotiating with me, and it just goes bad. So I just don't negotiate. My fee is typically $23,000 to $25,000 an arch, depending on, are they paying me cash, are they using financing, are they doing 1 arch, are they doing 2 arches, etc. And so that's the way it works for me.
All right, Dr. Singh, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you for being so giving of your time, your energy, and your talent. We appreciate you. We're grateful to have this great working relationship, and we're going to continue to grow. I'm going to drop in the chat one more time those that are interested in being on the email list as we get our details out for our fall masterclass with Dr. Singh and the Microsite business team, and those that are ready to take action and just have a conversation. All it is a conversation about you, your business, and how you can grow. All right. This is Lauren from Microsite saying thank you. Dr. Singh, enjoy your day. Guys, we'll be in touch.
All right. Awesome. Soon. Thanks, guys. Good luck to all of you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.